The ballroom sparkled with corporate ambition and champagne bubbles. 400 employees of Meridian Defense Systems filled round tables draped in company colors, their conversations mixing quarterly projections with weekend plans. I sat at table 12, nursing my third glass of wine, watching my wife Aria Corven ascend the stage to accept her Employee of the Year award. "Ladies and gentlemen," CEO Helena Rydell announced into the microphone, her voice carrying across the hotel ballroom, "this year's recipient has demonstrated exceptional dedication, innovative thinking, and remarkable results across multiple departments. Please welcome Aria Corven." The applause thundered around me. I clapped along, the leather folder resting against my leg beneath the white tablecloth. 6 months of investigation condensed into 47 pages of evidence. My IT background had made the digital archaeology surprisingly straightforward. Deleted text messages, calendar invitations disguised as business meetings, hotel confirmations charged to corporate expense accounts. Aria reached the podium, her black dress catching the stage lights perfectly. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready, claiming the evening represented a career milestone. She wasn't wrong, though not in the way she imagined. "Thank you so much for this incredible honor," Aria began, her voice steady and professional. "When I joined Meridian 3 years ago, I never imagined I would have the opportunity to contribute to such meaningful work, supporting our nation's defense initiatives while building lasting partnerships within our organization. I knew those partnerships intimately now. Executive number 1, CFO Reed Trenner, who had promoted Aria twice in 18 months despite her lateral entry into the finance department. Executive number 2, VP of Operations Marcus Weller, who had approved her budget increases and transferred 2 senior analysts to her team. Executive number 3, Chief of Staff Julian Kepler, who had nominated her for the award she was currently accepting. Aria managed her affairs like project portfolios, carefully scheduled, strategically aligned, with clear deliverables and measurable outcomes. Her career had advanced horizontally in more ways than the org chart reflected. "I want to thank my mentors," Aria continued, "who believed in my potential and provided guidance during challenging projects. Reed Trenner, whose financial wisdom helped me understand the broader implications of our operational decisions. Marcus Weller, who taught me that excellence requires attention to every detail. And Julian Kepler, whose strategic vision inspired me to think beyond quarterly targets." The audience murmured appreciatively. These 3 men sat at the executive table near the front, their expressions carefully neutral. Reed straightened his tie, a nervous habit I'd observed during the monthly all-hands meetings. Marcus checked his phone, probably messaging his wife about running late. Julian maintained perfect posture, his attention focused entirely on Aria. They had no idea what was coming. "Most importantly," Aria said, her voice softening with practiced emotion, "I want to thank my husband Soren, who has supported my career ambitions and understood the demands of building something meaningful in a competitive industry. His patience during long hours and weekend strategy sessions made this achievement possible." Strategy sessions. That's what she called them in her calendar. 43 separate entries over 6 months, cross-referenced with hotel bookings and expense reports. The Westin downtown appeared most frequently, though she'd also utilized the Marriott, the Hilton, and twice the boutique hotel near the airport. I stood up, folder in hand, and walked toward the stage. The applause continued as I approached the podium. A few colleagues from the IT department noticed my movement, their expressions curious. Aria saw me coming and smiled, probably assuming I wanted to share her moment of triumph. I climbed the 3 steps to the platform and moved beside her at the microphone. The applause began to fade as the audience sensed something unscripted developing. "Actually," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system, "before Aria finishes her speech, I have something for Helena." I handed the leather folder to the CEO, who accepted it with obvious confusion. Helena Rydell had built Meridian from a small consulting firm into a defense contractor employing 800 people. Her instincts for corporate politics were razor sharp, which meant she recognized danger even before understanding its source. Her real performance reviews are in here, I announced to the silent ballroom. Helena opened the folder. The first page contained a photograph with timestamp and location data. Reed and Aria entering the Westin elevator together on a Tuesday afternoon when her calendar showed a quarterly budget review and his showed client development. Helena's expression didn't change, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the folder. Aria stepped toward the microphone, her composure cracking slightly. My husband has been under tremendous stress lately. Work pressure, you know how it is. This is obviously some kind of breakdown. I looked out at the audience, 400 faces staring back with growing fascination. The folder contains 6 months of documentation, hotel receipts, text messages, calendar coordination, expense reports, 3 different executives, overlapping schedules that required spreadsheet tracking to manage properly. Helena turned to the second page, a printout of text messages between Aria and Marcus discussing performance metrics that had nothing to do with quarterly targets. Then the third page, showing Julian's corporate credit card paying for room service to a suite Aria had accessed with a key card, her badge records confirmed. The ballroom had gone completely silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning system. "There's more," I continued, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my system. The affairs were just the beginning. Page 15 documents corporate data transfers to Pinnacle Defense Systems, where Aria's college roommate Jennifer Walsh serves as CEO. Page 23 shows stock trades that Marcus executed based on financial information from Reed's quarterly briefings. Page 31 contains a letter from federal counterintelligence agents thanking me for accelerating their investigation timeline. Helena closed the folder and stepped to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude this evening's program. Please enjoy the remainder of your evening." But nobody moved. 400 people sat transfixed, watching the collapse of what had seemed like a perfect corporate success story. Aria made one final attempt at damage control. "This is obviously fabricated. Soren has been acting erratically for months. I've been concerned about his mental state." I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app. "Would you like me to play the conversation where you discussed framing me for the data theft? I have 47 minutes of audio from last Tuesday when you thought I was working late." The color drained from Aria's face completely. Helena gestured to security, and 2 guards approached the stage. "Mr. Corven, please accompany us. Mrs. Corven, you as well. We need to discuss this privately." As we walked toward the exit, I noticed Cole Merrick standing near the back of the ballroom. Aria's younger brother worked in Meridian's legal department, and he'd been my inside source for the past month. He'd grown tired of watching his sister manipulate systems he'd sworn to protect. Cole nodded slightly as we passed, confirmation that the federal investigators would receive their copies of the evidence tomorrow morning. The trophy remained on the stage, never collected, as 400 employees began the most interesting post-event networking session in company history. The security office felt smaller than I remembered from my orientation 3 years ago. Helena sat behind the metal desk, while Aria and I occupied plastic chairs that had seen better decades. The folder lay open between us, its contents spread across the surface like evidence in a crime scene investigation. "Let's start with the technical aspects," Helena said, her tone businesslike despite the circumstances. "Soren, explain how you obtained this information." I'd prepared for this question during the 6 months of investigation. "Standard IT security protocols. As senior systems analyst, I monitor network traffic for anomalies. Aria's data usage patterns triggered automated alerts, large file transfers during off hours, access to financial databases outside her department authorization, email routing through external servers." Helena nodded. "Continue." "Her personal devices connected to our guest network multiple times. which requires manual approval from IT. Each connection logs device identifiers, timestamps, and data volumes. When I noticed the pattern, I initiated a standard security audit. Aria finally spoke. "You spied on me." "I investigated potential corporate security breaches," I corrected. "The personal information was incidental to the professional misconduct." Helena picked up one of the printed text message threads. "These appear to be between Aria and Reed Trenner. Can you verify their authenticity?" Message metadata includes server timestamps, device identifiers, and network routing information. Everything's verifiable through our telecom provider. Reed's corporate phone shows identical message logs. Aria shifted in her chair. Those conversations were taken out of context. Reed was mentoring me through complex financial projects. I handed Helena another document. Page 12 shows Reed's calendar entries for their meetings. Budget review at the Westin Hotel, Tuesday afternoon. Strategic planning at the Marriott, Thursday evening. Quarterly assessment at the boutique hotel near the airport, Saturday morning. Strategic planning does require intensive focus, Aria said weakly. Helena turned to the financial documents. These stock trades by Marcus Weller explain the connection. Marcus bought defense contractor options 3 days before we announced the Pentagon contract renewal. He sold them 2 days after the public announcement, netting $47,000 in profit. The contract details were discussed in Reed's financial briefings, which Aria attended as department liaison. "That's circumstantial," Aria protested. "Page 18 shows your text message to Marcus. Pentagon announcement Tuesday morning. Plan accordingly. Sent Sunday evening, 12 hours after Reed's briefing." Helena studied the message thread carefully. "And Julian Kepler's involvement?" Julian nominated Aria for Employee of the Year, despite her department ranking 4th in productivity metrics. His expense reports show hotel charges matching Aria's location data on 17 separate occasions over 4 months. I pulled out my tablet and opened a spreadsheet. I tracked their coordination patterns. Julian would schedule strategic consultations whenever his wife traveled for her consulting work. Aria's calendar would show executive briefings during the same windows. Their badge access logs confirmed they entered the same hotel parking garages within minutes of each other. Aria stared at the spreadsheet with obvious recognition. "You actually tracked us like a project timeline. You made it easy. Everything was documented in corporate systems, calendars, expense reports, badge access, network logs. You treated the affairs like business operations, so I analyzed them like business operations." Helena closed the folder and leaned back in her chair. "The personal misconduct is serious enough, but the corporate espionage allegations are federal matters. Soren, you mentioned counterintelligence involvement. Pinnacle Defense Systems received proprietary technical specifications for 3 separate defense projects. The data transfers originated from Aria's network access during her strategy sessions with Julian. His chief of staff position provided clearance for classified materials. I never accessed classified information, Aria said quickly. Julian's laptop automatically synced to cloud storage whenever it connected to hotel wireless networks. Your personal phone connected to the same networks during overlapping time frames. The sync logs show file downloads to external devices. Helena stood up and walked to the window overlooking the hotel parking lot. "How long have you known about this?" "I suspected the affairs for 2 months. The corporate espionage became clear 3 weeks ago when I noticed the data transfer patterns. The federal investigation started independently. They contacted me last week after identifying the security breaches." Aria finally seemed to understand the scope of her situation. "This is about more than cheating. Industrial espionage, securities fraud, and potential treason," I confirmed. "The affairs provided access and cover for intelligence theft. Your Employee of the Year award was based on stolen information sold to competitors." Helena returned to her desk and picked up her phone. "I need to contact our legal department and federal liaisons immediately. This conversation is over until we have proper representation." "There's one more thing," I said, pulling out a small recording device. Last Tuesday evening, Aria discussed planting false evidence in my computer to frame me for the data theft. She planned to claim I was retaliating for her professional success by sabotaging the company. Aria's composure finally shattered completely. You recorded our private conversation? I recorded a confession to conspiracy and attempted fraud. The device was in my home office, which I'm legally entitled to monitor. Helena took the recording device and placed it with the folder contents. Security will escort you both out separately. Don't discuss this situation with anyone until legal counsel advises otherwise. As we stood to leave, I noticed Cole Merrick through the window, talking with two men in dark suits near the hotel entrance. The federal investigators had arrived ahead of schedule. Aria saw them too. Those are FBI agents. Counterintelligence, I corrected. Defense contractors take security breaches seriously. Helena opened the office door and gestured to the security guards waiting outside. Mrs. Corven, you'll exit through the service entrance. Mr. Corven, please use the main lobby. As Aria was led away, she turned back toward me. Why didn't you just divorce me quietly? Because you committed treason, I replied. Some things are bigger than marriage. The security guard escorted me through the lobby, past clusters of Meridian employees still discussing the evening's events. I heard fragments of conversation, speculation about the evidence, questions about the federal investigation, theories about how long the affairs had continued. Outside, Cole approached me near the parking garage entrance. The agents want to interview you tomorrow morning. They have some additional questions about the technical evidence. Will she cooperate with the investigation? Aria's always been good at calculating odds. She'll probably try to negotiate a plea agreement by providing information about Pinnacle's intelligence operations. I looked back at the hotel, where the Employee of the Year trophy still sat abandoned on the stage. What happens to the company? Helena's already implementing damage control. Reed, Marcus, and Julian will resign by morning. The Pentagon contracts are probably safe. We'll frame this as identifying and eliminating security threats rather than failing to prevent them. A police car pulled up to the service entrance, and Aria emerged in handcuffs. The federal agents had decided not to wait for tomorrow's interview. She really thought she could frame you? Cole asked. She planted false files on my computer last week, email drafts discussing data sales, fake financial accounts, fabricated contact information for foreign agents. If I hadn't been monitoring the network traffic, her plan might have worked. Cole shook his head. She always was too clever for her own good. As the police car drove away, I realized my marriage had ended exactly where Aria's career peaked, with an audience, a microphone, and evidence that couldn't be disputed. The investigation would continue for months, but the story ended tonight in a hotel ballroom where 400 people witnessed the collapse of a carefully constructed lie. The federal building downtown looked exactly like every government facility I'd ever visited: concrete, glass, and the persistent smell of industrial cleaning products. Agent Patricia Wells led me through security checkpoints and down corridors lined with motivational posters about cybersecurity awareness. We appreciate your cooperation, Mr. Corven, Agent Wells said as we entered a conference room equipped with recording equipment and multiple computer monitors. Your technical analysis accelerated our investigation significantly. Agent David Park, her partner, spread documents across the table. Let's start with the timeline. When did you first notice unusual network activity from your wife's accounts? I pulled out my laptop and opened the spreadsheet I'd prepared. March 15th, Aria accessed the financial database at 11:30 p.m. from her home computer. Her normal work schedule ended at 6 p.m., and she was supposedly attending her book club that evening. Book club, Agent Park noted with obvious skepticism. I called the organizer the next morning. No book club meeting that week. Aria's location data showed her at the Westin Hotel during the database access time frame. Agent Wells examined the network logs on her monitor. The access was legitimate. Her credentials, her authorized permissions. Correct. But she downloaded quarterly projections for 3 defense contracts outside her department responsibilities. The files were copied to external storage and uploaded to a cloud server registered under a false identity. I clicked through several screenshots showing the data transfer sequence. The cloud account was created using a prepaid credit card purchased with cash, but the account recovery email belonged to Jennifer Walsh at Pinnacle Defense Systems. "Your wife's college roommate," Agent Park confirmed, reading from his notes. "They maintained regular contact through social media. Jennifer's company bid on the same Pentagon contracts, using specifications that matched our proprietary designs exactly." Agent Wells pulled up additional files on her computer. "We've been monitoring Pinnacle for 8 months. Their technical proposals showed impossible accuracy for competitive intelligence. They knew details about our manufacturing processes, cost structures, and delivery timelines." "The information came from Julian Kepler's classified briefings," I explained. "As Chief of Staff, he attended executive strategy sessions where contract details were discussed." His laptop automatically synced to cloud storage whenever it connected to wireless networks. "Including hotel networks," Agent Park added. Aria's phone connected to the same hotel networks during overlapping timeframes. The sync process downloaded classified files to devices she could access. I opened another spreadsheet showing the correlation between Julian's travel schedule, Aria's calendar entries, and data transfer logs. 17 separate incidents over 4 months. Each time, classified information appeared in Pinnacle's possession within 72 hours. Agent Wells studied the timeline carefully. This level of coordination suggests deliberate espionage rather than accidental disclosure. Aria managed the operation like a project portfolio. She coordinated schedules, managed information flow, and maintained operational security through the affair cover story. Agent Park leaned forward. "Explain the securities fraud component." I pulled up Marcus Weller's trading records. Marcus received advance notification about contract announcements through Reed's financial briefings. Aria attended those briefings as department liaison and passed information to Marcus through encrypted messaging apps. "The profits were substantial," Agent Wells observed. $47,000 from the Pentagon contract, $32,000 from the Navy deal, $18,000 from the Air Force renewal. Total profits of $97,000 over 6 months. I showed them the message threads between Aria and Marcus, discussing performance metrics and quarterly targets that corresponded exactly with his trading activity. Marcus shared the profits with Aria through cash payments disguised as consulting fees, I continued. Her personal bank records show deposits matching his trading profits within days of each transaction. Agent Park made notes on his tablet. "How did you discover the financial connection?" Aria's spending patterns changed dramatically. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, luxury hotel stays beyond our household budget. I traced the additional income through her credit card statements and bank records. Agent Wells pulled up photographs from the evidence folder. "These images show your wife with all 3 executives in hotel settings. The affairs provided access, cover, and leverage. Reed gave her database access for financial information. Julian provided classified technical specifications. Marcus handled the securities trading and money laundering. And Jennifer Walsh at Pinnacle coordinated the intelligence collection," Agent Park concluded. "They used encrypted communication apps, rotating phones, and coded language in their messages, but they documented everything in corporate systems for expense reporting and calendar management." I opened the final section of my analysis. The operational security was sophisticated, but the administrative requirements created digital evidence trails. Agent Wells reviewed the comprehensive timeline. "This investigation will result in federal charges against all participants: corporate espionage, securities fraud, conspiracy, and potential treason." "What about Aria's attempt to frame me?" Agent Park pulled out the recording device I'd provided. "We've analyzed the audio evidence. Her plan to plant false files on your computer constitutes conspiracy and obstruction of justice." "She would have succeeded if I hadn't been monitoring the network traffic," I admitted. "Your technical expertise saved the investigation," Agent Wells said. "Without your documentation, we might never have connected the individual crimes into a comprehensive conspiracy. Agent Park closed his files. We'll need you to testify before a federal grand jury next month. The evidence you've provided forms the foundation of our case. As I prepared to leave, Agent Wells handed me a business card. We may have additional questions as the investigation develops. Don't discuss these details with anyone outside your legal counsel. Walking back through the federal building corridors, I reflected on how thoroughly Aria had planned her operation. The affairs weren't crimes of passion. They were calculated intelligence-gathering activities designed to penetrate multiple levels of corporate security. She treated national defense contracts like personal opportunities for profit and advancement without considering the broader implications for national security or corporate integrity. The Employee of the Year award had been the culmination of an espionage operation that threatened defense contractors, military procurement, and classified technology development. Outside the federal building, I noticed a familiar figure waiting near the parking garage. Cole Merrick approached with obvious concern. How did the interview go? They have enough evidence to prosecute everyone involved. The charges will be substantial. Cole shook his head. Aria always pushed boundaries, but I never imagined she'd cross this line. The federal agent said she treated espionage like project management. Systematic, organized, documented. That sounds like her. She approached everything like a business opportunity. As we walked toward our cars, I realized the investigation was just beginning. The evidence I'd gathered would support federal prosecutions, congressional hearings, and industry-wide security reviews. Aria's Employee of the Year moment had become the starting point for the largest defense contractor espionage case in recent history. 3 weeks after the gala, I sat in my home office reviewing the cascade of consequences that followed my folder delivery. The local newspaper had picked up the story after court documents became public record. Defense contractor espionage ring exposed at corporate award ceremony ran as the headline above photographs of Aria, Reed, Marcus, and Julian being escorted from federal court. My phone buzzed with a text from Cole. Reed's resignation went public this morning. Board meeting at 10 a.m. I opened my laptop and navigated to Meridian's investor relations page. The press release was brief and carefully worded. CFO Reed Trenner has resigned to pursue other opportunities. The company is cooperating fully with ongoing federal investigations. The stock price had dropped 12% since the gala, though Helena's damage control efforts were limiting the decline. She'd framed the situation as proactive security measures rather than reactive crisis management. Marcus Weller's situation was more complicated. The SEC had frozen his trading accounts and initiated formal proceedings for securities fraud. His wife had filed for divorce after learning about the affairs and financial crimes. The local business journal reported that his house was for sale and his country club membership had been quietly terminated. Julian Kepler faced the most serious charges. His security clearance had been revoked immediately, ending his government contracting career permanently. The counterintelligence investigation had expanded to include his previous positions at 2 other defense contractors, suggesting a pattern of compromised access spanning several years. Aria remained in federal custody pending trial. Her attorney had attempted to negotiate a plea agreement, but the prosecutors were demanding full cooperation in the broader investigation of Pinnacle Defense Systems and potential foreign intelligence connections. I'd received updates from Agent Wells about the expanding scope of the case. Jennifer Walsh's company had been receiving technical specifications for defense projects from multiple sources, suggesting a network of compromised employees across the industry. The intelligence operation was more sophisticated than we initially realized, Agent Wells had explained during my second interview. Your wife was one of several assets providing information to Pinnacle, which appears to have been serving as a front for foreign intelligence services. The personal consequences were equally comprehensive. Aria's professional reputation was destroyed beyond recovery. Her LinkedIn profile had been deleted, her corporate awards revoked, and her name removed from company publications and websites. Our joint bank accounts had been frozen pending the federal investigation. The house was technically marital property, but Aria's legal fees were consuming her assets rapidly. Her attorney had suggested she might need to sell her interest in the property to fund her defense. I changed the locks, forwarded her mail to her attorney's office, and donated her belongings to charity after legal counsel confirmed I wasn't obligated to store them indefinitely. The divorce proceedings were straightforward given the criminal charges and evidence of adultery. Virginia's fault-based divorce laws meant Aria would receive minimal settlement despite our 3-year marriage. My own situation had improved dramatically. Helena had promoted me to IT security director with a significant salary increase and expanded responsibilities. "Your investigation skills and attention to detail are exactly what we need," she'd explained during the promotion meeting. The new position involved implementing security protocols to prevent future espionage attempts. I was designing systems to monitor data access patterns, detect unusual network activity, and identify potential insider threats. Cole had been promoted to general counsel, replacing the previous legal director who'd failed to detect the security breaches. "Helena wants people she can trust in critical positions," he'd explained. The federal investigation had created opportunities for employees who'd demonstrated loyalty and competence during the crisis. Several department heads had been promoted after their cooperation with investigators exceeded expectations. I'd also received contact from other defense contractors interested in my security analysis expertise. The industry was implementing comprehensive reviews of insider threat protocols, and my documentation methods had become a model for corporate security investigations. The Employee of the Year trophy had been removed from display in the corporate lobby. Helena had ordered all references to Aria's award deleted from company materials and websites. The annual gala had been canceled indefinitely while the company focused on rebuilding its reputation. Reed's replacement as CFO was implementing new financial controls and audit procedures. Marcus's successor in operations had restructured the department to eliminate single points of failure in critical processes. Julian's chief of staff position had been eliminated entirely, with his responsibilities distributed among existing executives. The broader defense contracting industry was responding with enhanced security measures. Background investigations were being expanded, network monitoring systems upgraded, and employee training programs revised to address insider threat awareness. Pinnacle Defense Systems had lost its government contracts and faced federal charges for conspiracy and espionage. Jennifer Walsh was cooperating with investigators in exchange for reduced charges, providing information about the intelligence network that had been operating for several years. My testimony before the federal grand jury had been scheduled for next month. The prosecutors were confident that my technical evidence would support convictions for all the primary defendants. The case had attracted attention from congressional oversight committees interested in defense contractor security protocols. I'd been invited to testify about technical vulnerabilities and recommended improvements to federal contracting procedures. As I reviewed the comprehensive destruction of Aria's carefully constructed career and criminal enterprise, I felt a satisfaction that surprised me with its intensity. She'd treated our marriage, her colleagues, and national security as resources to be exploited for personal advancement. The Employee of the Year award had been the peak of an operation that required betraying everyone who trusted her. The folder I'd handed to Helena contained evidence of systematic deception spanning months of careful planning and execution. Justice was proceeding through federal courts with the methodical thoroughness that serious crimes deserved. Aria would face years in prison, permanent exclusion from government contracting, and financial ruin that would take decades to recover from. The investigation had revealed the true scope of her ambitions and the calculated nature of her betrayals. She hadn't made impulsive mistakes. She'd designed and implemented a comprehensive plan to steal classified information for profit. The consequences were proportional to the crimes, and the evidence was overwhelming. The Employee of the Year had become the defendant of the decade in what prosecutors were calling the most significant defense contractor espionage case in recent memory. The federal courthouse in downtown Richmond felt appropriately imposing for the magnitude of the charges being prosecuted. I sat in the witness section, reviewing my testimony notes one final time before taking the stand in United States v. Aria Corven et al. The prosecution had spent 3 days presenting evidence of the conspiracy, walking the jury through financial records, classified document transfers, and recorded conversations. Today, they would focus on the technical aspects of the espionage operation. Assistant U.S. Attorney Rebecca Martinez approached the witness stand as I was sworn in. Mr. Corven, please describe your professional background and relationship to the defendants. I'm IT Security Director at Meridian Defense Systems. I have 12 years of experience in network security and digital forensics. Aria Corven was my wife until our divorce was finalized last month. What initially prompted your investigation into unusual network activity? I opened my laptop and displayed the first exhibit. Automated security alerts flagged large data transfers from Aria's user account during non-business hours. As senior systems analyst, I'm responsible for investigating potential security breaches. Please explain what you discovered. Aria accessed classified financial databases and technical specifications outside her department authorization. The files were copied to external storage devices and uploaded to cloud servers registered under false identities. Attorney Martinez projected my network analysis onto courtroom monitors. How did you trace the data transfers? Every network transaction creates digital fingerprints, timestamps, device identifiers, routing information, and file metadata. I tracked the stolen information from our secure servers to cloud storage accounts controlled by Pinnacle Defense Systems. I walked the jury through the technical evidence, explaining how Aria had coordinated with the 3 executives to access, copy, and transfer classified information over a 6-month period. The operation required sophisticated planning, I testified. Aria managed access schedules, coordinated data collection, and maintained operational security through encrypted communications and coded language. Defense attorney Patricia Hoffman cross-examined me aggressively, attempting to characterize my investigation as a jealous husband's revenge rather than legitimate security analysis. Mr. Corven, isn't it true that you initiated this investigation after discovering your wife's affairs? I initiated the investigation after automated security systems detected unauthorized data transfers. The affairs were discovered during the course of the security audit. You felt betrayed and wanted to destroy your wife's career. I felt obligated to protect classified national defense information from theft and foreign intelligence services. Attorney Hoffman presented several exhibits, suggesting I had exceeded my authority in monitoring Aria's activities. My investigation followed standard IT security protocols, I responded. Network monitoring, user activity analysis, and digital forensics are routine procedures for detecting insider threats. The prosecution's redirect examination allowed me to explain the broader implications of the espionage operation. The stolen information included technical specifications for missile defense systems, radar technology, and satellite communications equipment, I testified. Foreign intelligence services could use this data to develop countermeasures against American military capabilities. Reed Trenner's testimony followed mine. The former CFO had negotiated a plea agreement in exchange for cooperation with the prosecution. Aria approached me about providing financial projections for competitive analysis, Reed testified. She claimed the information would help our bid strategies against Pinnacle Defense Systems. Did you believe that explanation? Initially, yes, but the requests became more specific and frequent. She wanted detailed cost breakdowns, profit margins, and strategic planning documents that went beyond competitive intelligence. Reed's testimony revealed how Aria had gradually expanded her requests, using their affair as leverage to obtain increasingly sensitive financial information. Marcus Weller testified about the securities trading scheme, explaining how Aria had provided advance notification about contract announcements in exchange for shared profits. She knew exactly when the Pentagon announcements would be made, Marcus testified. The timing was too precise for coincidence. She had access to information that wasn't available to other employees. Julian Kepler's testimony was the most damaging for Aria's defense. As chief of staff, he'd provided access to classified technical specifications through his security clearance. Aria convinced me that sharing strategic information would help coordinate our departments more effectively, Julian testified. She claimed Helena had approved increased collaboration between operations and executive planning. Did you verify that authorization? No. Aria seemed to have legitimate access to executive communications, and her requests appeared reasonable within the context of our relationship. Julian's testimony revealed how Aria had manipulated his emotional attachment to justify increasingly serious security breaches. The prosecution's final witness was Agent Patricia Wells, who testified about the broader intelligence operation and Pinnacle Defense Systems' connections to foreign intelligence services. The defendants participated in a sophisticated espionage network designed to steal American defense technology. Agent Wells testified. The stolen information was transferred to foreign intelligence services through Pinnacle's international partnerships. Agent Wells presented evidence showing how the technical specifications had been incorporated into foreign military systems, demonstrating the real-world consequences of the espionage operation. Aria's defense attorney attempted to portray her as a naive employee who'd been manipulated by more experienced executives, but the evidence of systematic planning and coordination undermined that narrative. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges: conspiracy to commit espionage, theft of classified information, securities fraud, and money laundering. Judge Elizabeth Morrison sentenced Aria to 12 years in federal prison, followed by supervised probation and permanent exclusion from government contracting. Reed received 8 years, Marcus received 10 years, and Julian received 15 years due to his security clearance violations. Jennifer Walsh, who had testified against the defendants in exchange for a plea agreement, received 5 years probation and agreed to provide ongoing cooperation with counterintelligence investigations. As the defendants were led away in handcuffs, I felt a sense of closure that had been building since the night I handed Helena that folder. The investigation had revealed the true scope of Aria's betrayals and ensured appropriate consequences for crimes that threatened national security. The Employee of the Year award had been the culmination of an espionage operation that required betraying her marriage, her colleagues, her company, and her country. The federal courthouse was the appropriate venue for accounting for those betrayals. Outside the courthouse, Agent Wells approached me with final thanks for my cooperation. "Your technical analysis was crucial for this prosecution," she said. "The evidence you provided enabled us to dismantle a significant intelligence threat." As I walked back to my car, I reflected on how thoroughly the investigation had transformed everyone involved. Aria's ambitions had led to federal prison. The executives she'd manipulated faced similar consequences. The company had implemented comprehensive security improvements. The folder I'd prepared 6 months ago had contained evidence of systematic deception and criminal conspiracy. The federal courtroom had been the final stage for presenting that evidence and ensuring justice for crimes that extended far beyond adultery. The Employee of the Year had become a federal prisoner, and the national defense information she'd stolen was secure once again.